Lori G.
John Cutler.
Craig Smith.
John Eichman.
Ed Miyoshi.
Richard Campbell.
Jason Paraskiva.
And you join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight. I don't know if you got caught in that little quick blizzard, but I'm glad you're here safely. We have two upcoming meetings, December 8th and January 9th of 2021. We have one set of minutes to approve of September 30th. Has everyone reviewed those minutes?
Yep.
Okay.
You want a motion to approve?
Yes.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, so tonight we have two extensions. Due to COVID, the town is in agreement with extending these applications and those that would expire that we did a prior extension on to April of next year. So we have a resolution that we need to put forward for that. Kind of a motion to accept this resolution to extend.
So moved.
Second.
Move properly second. If, John, if you can read the resolution.
Happy to. Resolution extending approval periods for various projects during COVID. Whereas due to COVID-19, there have been interruptions in the typical construction and approval process due to executive orders from Governor Cuomo. And whereas statutes of limitations have been told and filings have been disabled for many legal proceedings. And whereas approval periods for various projects approved by the Planning Board will expire while our region continues to be impacted by the coronavirus pandemic. And whereas to safeguard the due process rights of applicants, the Planning Board determines that extending the expiration date for projects approved by the Planning Board is the most prudent course of action. Whereas the Planning Board previously extended the expiration date for all Planning Board approvals expiring on or after January 1st, 2020 through November 1st, 2020. Now, therefore, be it resolved that due to continuing public health and safety concerns from COVID-19 and pursuant to the Governor's recent executive orders, all Planning Board approvals expiring on or after November 1st, 2020 will be considered extended through May 31st, 2021, with no further Planning Board action required.
Any concerns with the resolution? Okay, if you can hand it back, just to run through there. Thank you.
Sorry.
Can I have a second for the resolution?
Second.
John Cutler. Now for your vote. Lori?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
John Cutler?
Aye.
John Eichman?
Aye.
Ed Miyoshi?
Aye.
Rich Campbell?
Aye.
And myself, aye. The motion passed.
And Craig, can I just ask, do we have a list of applicants that we're going to contact to let them know, or is it just?
I have two that already
Right.
contacted me, and then I think there's one other.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Matt knows already.
Excellent.
See you in 6 months, man.
Yeah?
Yeah, hopefully we'll be done.
Yeah.
So you're all set. Donovan site plan and Feehan subdivision. So we will get back to you in April. You know, we'll be looking to bring come back to the board.
Hopefully we'll be done by then.
All right.
Okay, next on the agenda is a sketch plan, Pause.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jessica DeRosa. I am a local Hopewell Junction resident. I studied business at Marist College. I am looking to bring a dog care facility to Hopewell Junction. I know when many think of dog daycares, they think of a bunch of dogs kind of running around in a big open space. That's not what I'm looking to do. I have studied animal psychology, behavioral. I have taken courses with trainers, vet med, all different things to really understand what dogs need during the day to become enriched, but not overstimulated. We have found a facility on 92 Heisner Mountain Road. It is a B1 zoned. My only concern is the backyard is not fenced in at this time. I'm not looking to put kennels in the backyard. I'm just looking to put in a small area where the dogs can go out supervised, to go to the bathroom, and then come back into their play groups. At no time would dogs be left outside by themselves. They would always be with people, with my staff that I plan to hire, and that's what we're hoping for.
Okay. Michelle, are you able to bring up the,
Yeah, I'm trying to
Sketch
do that.
plan?
I'm seeing if I can type it in right now. I've got a,
What's the max number of dogs you can have?
So the max number of dogs I'm looking to have, a starting number is 25. I was actually going to hope to ask for all of your opinion on that. From my research, I have found that many different counties and states go based on, sometimes it's based on the weights of the dog. We do plan to have a scale in the lobby upon check-in. The dogs would be weighed. It would be documented in their records. Some places literally go by size and square foot. I am open to hear all of your opinions and what we can do to make this the best place in our community.
How many employees?
I would like to do a 7-to-1 dog-to ratio employee. So for every 7 dogs we have, there would be at least 1 staff member, including myself. We would have a receptionist, someone on site at all times, at least 1 person in each play group at every time. So let's say we had 15 dogs, 5 dogs in a play group, at least 1 person is going to be in every play group at every time.
Hours of operation, approximate?
I'm looking to do a, like, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., but the way I would like to structure it is to have set hours for drop-off and set hours for pickup, so we don't have people coming in all day and out. So drop-off starts at 8 a.m. and ends at 11 a.m., and then pickup begins at 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. That way we have that time period where, you know, most people are going in and out of work, and then that's not creating tons of traffic.
Will there be any dogs overnight?
We would like to explore the possibility of overnight. The facility we're actually looking at now does have a kitchen and a room in it, so we could set up a staff room where someone could do an overnight shift. Probably in the beginning it would be myself, just to make sure the dogs are monitored all the time when they're in their crates. Obviously no collars on, nothing in there that they can have, that they can swallow. 24-hour monitoring, cameras, and staff on site.
Are you requiring vaccines?
Yes, we will be requiring rabies, distemper, influenza, bordetella, and lepto and Lyme. We are going to highly suggest, but since we're in an area where the weather gets a little bit warmer, that's not something we're concerned about, as well as flea and ticks. Prevention must be provided, and heartworm.
Will you be doing any grooming on site?
Not at the beginning, maybe basic baths down the road, but I am not a groomer. I don't have a license in grooming, so grooming is not something I plan on doing.
Could you go through the vaccines again, just slowly?
Sure.
for me, please?
It would be rabies, distemper, influenza, bordetella, which is basically the canine kennel cough, and then lepto-Lyme we will strongly urge, but we will not require. And then we will also require proof of flea and tick prevention and heartworm negative test, along with treatment for that.
Now, are those the similar protocols that, like, if you were to bring your dog to a kennel at a vet?
Yes, those are very similar. You know, heartworm is something that's very transferable to dogs, so a lot of times when dogs come up from rescues of the South, they always get them heartworm tested, treated, and then on a preventative. You guys know, I'm sure, fleas and ticks, we live by the woods, they're always around, so we always want to make sure everyone's safe in that aspect. And everything else is your standard, what your dog starts getting shots at from a puppy all the way up through their entire life.
Will puppies and adult dogs be separated?
Yes, they will.
how many kennels will be inside the building?
We would like to start off with about 8 kennels, 8 to 10. That way, like I said, our goal is to provide a space where dogs can't become overstimulated. So during the day, you know, one dog might be in a play group, the other dog will be doing an enrichment activity, the other dog will be going into nap time. That way, when they're running around playing for an hour or two and then they start to really get amped up, go outside, take a bathroom break, come inside, go in a kennel, bring yourself back down. That way, we avoid things like overstimulation, bloat, fights, aggressiveness, behavioral issues, all of that. We are also in contact with one of the local trainers of Hopewell Junction. We have consulted and shared a couple clients in the past. She would love to be on site, and also, you know, she would help us do our temperament test. Dogs can't just walk in the door and be like, hey, I want to come to daycare. We would have to go through a contract, a meeting to make sure I'm comfortable with them, they're comfortable with me, and then along with that, there would be temperament testing to make sure we can share food, we can share toys, we can share treats, so we know what environment is best for them.
Okay, so you'll have an open space inside the building too for dogs to congregate? I
Yep, to run and play.
Okay, I was able to get it up finally.
Oh, thank you.
guess? I'm asking all the questions.
Just in time.
Now, did you have opportunity to review the code that we use here in town for the governed kennels?
I have not.
Okay, so if we can get her a copy of that, you should be able to get access to it, but it's 194-55. And so I want to make sure that you know, in compliance with those regulations. It's roughly 10 items that you need to consider, but it will require you to have a special permit. So one of the motions we'll make at the end is to refer you to the zoning board. But right now we want to, go ahead, Michelle.
Yeah, so I just, by way of introduction, so this property is, you may recall, I think it was, I don't know how many years ago now, a few years ago, there was a site plan in front of us for a flea market at this property.
Yep.
So, it was 2013, actually longer than I thought. Anyway, so this is a bit of a unique situation. This is a B1 zone property in the midst of a lot of residential areas, or residential properties. And in fact, just relatively recently, the property across the street, which had previously also been B1, was rezoned to residential as well. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, there may be a house being proposed on that lot right now. So it's traditionally been kind of an odd location for B1. Kennels are allowed in a B1 by a special permit. The special permit that we have in our zoning code has several conditions that are required, and I think one of the conditions that it will probably give you a little bit of problem because of the fact that you want to use that building is that any building that has dogs in it or that will be kenneling dogs has to be at least 150 feet from the property line.
Yes, that I was aware of.
So that's one of the things that, that they're unable to meet if they use that building for the kenneling. And then there's other conditions related to dog runs and noise, and there's actually some conditions related to the number of dogs that can be there. Some of it is at the discretion of the planning board, and some of it is prescribed via this odd formula in the special permit that talks about the size of the dogs and how many dogs can be there. So right now you're proposing to potentially kennel the dogs in the structure that is not, I think it's only about 40 feet off the road right now. So they would actually need to get a variance from the zoning board in order to be allowed to use that particular structure for the kenneling. So one of the things we would need to do is refer them to the zoning board because they would need to get that variance. But you guys, the planning board, would be granting the special permit for the use, or no, yeah, for essentially for the site plan. Okay, so ultimately, you know, it's a combination for you guys to look at it, and then also the zoning board would have to weigh in.
Are you gonna own the property? Or are you gonna lease it?
Right now, I would be leasing, and then if the space works out, it seems like it's the right fit for us, we would eventually like to buy the property. The 150 feet we were aware of, so when we looked at our survey map, we tried to figure out the best way to where the dogs are going to be to keep them as far away from our neighbors and the surrounding people and actually put them towards the cornfield. So we discovered there's about 8, I believe it's 8 office rooms in the building itself. The front building rooms we would use as my office, a storage room, a temperament testing room. That way the front building that is closer to the neighbors would not have dogs in it running around and barking, and of course we plan to soundproof. But those beginning rooms that are closer to the 40 feet would be more of our supply closet and other rooms, and keep the dogs towards the back of the building. Another thing is we don't plan to have dogs that are very barky. I own my own dog. I own a beagle. She's a hound. And they like to bark, but she just knows not to. That's why we would bring our trainer in. We also use special tools like pet correctors and air horns and all of those kinds of things that have been safety tested and regulated to help provide dogs with a structured kind of play without knowing to get crazy.
The 150 feet doesn't work that way, does it?
The 150 feet is, they're unable, if they use that building.
No, I'm saying it doesn't work that way. It's to the outside of the building.
Correct, correct. Yeah.
So it's not, because the dogs are in the back of the building.
Still gonna need the permit.
Yes.
Yes, they would still need the variance, correct.
Craig, do you have that up?
I have
No,
them,
Mr.
sorry.
Can you zoom out? I want to see where the houses are. I mean, I know where the houses are, I just want everybody else to see where the houses are. So most of it is the old dump that's behind there. You got the
And then there's-
cornfield that's in the front. the
There's a
Tonic
house
that's in
right
the front.
here, and
Well,
then
you have a
there's-
house that's directly next door, and then you have the trailer park.
Correct, and then I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm gonna just refer to Scott, ask Scott this is where the house was, the property was rezoned, correct? And there's, there's a, so there will be a house here,
Yeah, but they're building right next to the Taconic, so.
Yeah.
just,
So might I suggest that they look into maybe some soundproofing of the structure?
She said
She
that.
mentioned.
Yes,
it.
we would definitely be soundproofing, and actually, those 2 neighbors that you can see right there, we've actually spoken to them.
Could I ask
They
you
are
if you
dog
could-
owners themselves. One woman has 3 dogs, and the neighboring woman has 1 dog. We already told them, we went over to look at the property, and we're looking to put it in, and they're dog fans, dog lovers.
Well, when you go to the zoning, you might want to bring them along.
Okay.
Or have a letter from.
and then can you just, let me just point out, you were gonna put the runs somewhere over in here, correct?
Yes.
Dog runs would be on this side of the property is what you were proposing to do.
Yes, that is correct.
Wouldn't you want it right on the back of the building, though?
So there's a side door that opens up where we'd like to connect the fence to the little run on the side. Again, we're just trying to be as courteous as possible and keep them as far away from the neighbors. Again, this is also an area where the dogs are not going to be left outside. It's really, let's say, again, there's 15 dogs. 5 dogs are going to go out with an attendee. They're going to go to the bathroom. They might get some outdoor time depending on the weather. And then once they're done, they'll come back inside and then go on to their next activity.
Are they leashed when they're outside?
When they're
or
going outside, they
free
will
time?
have leash, but they will be able to run and play. We'll always have leashes on side. But this will be an area for them to go freely. Typically, if you bring dogs out in a leashed area together, sometimes that causes leash tension, and some dogs are leash reactive. So we definitely don't want to make a dog uncomfortable feeling the tension on a leash when they're trying to go to the bathroom and then, potentially have a behavioral issue.
But you're talking about fencing that area?
Yes,
regardless.
the
So
fencing
they
area.
might be on a leash to get to the area, but then they're
Oh,
not going
yes,
to be
that's
leashed
in our
while they're
contract, that when all dogs would come or when they leave, they must be leashed at all times.
What's your plan for dogs that get loose?
So we actually have we plan on doing a double leash system. So there's something called Mendota Pet Products. They sell a slip lead, which we would provide, and basically the owner has to provide their own harness, leash, collar for their dog, and on top of that, we would put one of our Mendota slip leads on, because it happens, their dogs clasps break open, leashes break. Those retractables are like a curse, so those we don't even really like to allow. So there would always be a backup leash on them, and from where the pickup area is, the lobby's right there, so we would hope that parents would just pull right up, come in, check out their dog, make sure they're leashed up, bring them right out to the car, no lingering, no socializing, it's just get in the car and go.
Okay, I understand. What's your plan if a dog gets loose?
So we have We do know of a couple trappers, Buddha Pet Trapping, I'm sure people have seen it all over Facebook, so we can always contact her. We have educated ourselves in that, so one strategy, I actually had a dog that I walk, I didn't lose the dog, but he was home with his parents, fireworks went off, dog ran through the fence. So what happened was, I told him, I said, buy hot dogs, liquid smoke, put them out in a bowl, put a trail cam out, see what happens. Dog come right back. Liquid smoke is something magic to dogs, they bring them right back in. We would, of course, put up flyers, go all about, do all of that. Also for our fence system, if we did get a permit for it, we would like to do a double fence, so do like an 8-foot vinyl plastic fence on the inside and then a chain link fence on the outside. That way someone does hit through and go through the vinyl fence, that attendee has enough time to grab the dog beforehand of a dog going through the chain link as well.
So, there are some rules related to fencing for our site plan, so it would be great if you could provide me with the details of what fencing you might require, because you might also need a variance depending on what you're proposing with the fencing. So we should talk about that before you
Right.
go in front of the zoning board.
Michelle, that's
In
more about the height of the
particular is
fence
how tall it
versus
is.
the type,
If it's
right?
over
It
6
can be
feet,
about the type as well.
you need the stuff from the zoning board. Under 6 feet, you're okay.
Okay.
And some of it depends on where the fence will be located, so just, we can have an offline discussion about that.
Perfect, thank you.
Any other questions from the board members?
So other than the two property owners you've spoken to, are there any other property owners that would be affected by noise?
Not that we're thinking of, on the other side of the, cornfield is then the other side of Hauser Mountain Road, and then there's the Trooper Barracks, which is down the hill. There is a trailer park, but I don't know if the noise would really be able to travel that far. I also know a lot of dogs live in that community. I actually live right down the road on Somerset, which is off of Hosner Mountain, so I'm plenty familiar with the area. I have my own dog, I walk her over there. So I know the area pretty well. I know a couple people actually on the road who have dogs, and I walk their dogs for them. But I don't see there being a big inconvenience to any of the neighbors.
Any questions, Michelle or Scott?
Are we directing her to the zoning board?
Yeah, and
Yes.
she'll need to get a variance, and then, because it's a special permit, it's also gonna be subject to a public hearing.
Public hearing, yeah.
Can I,
I would have one question. Do you intend to, you mentioned you might have overnight with employees. Do you intend to have like a caretaker's apartment in this ultimately?
Something
Because
like
that's
that.
another permit, I believe, Michelle, isn't it? It's just so we get everything on the table.
Basically,
Someone's gonna sleep there, yeah.
just like a staff room. I would probably prefer if the workers did not sleep overnight, they were actually like attending.
But you don't intend to make it your own apartment or anything there, or have a
No.
full-time caretaker stay?
Yeah.
So will occasional require that permit?
Well, I mean, it might be something you might wanna consider. I can show you the language for the special permit.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, if anybody sleeps there, you'd rather have the special permit know that you're permitted to do that than have an issue.
Okay, great.
if there are no further questions, can I have a motion to refer this applicant to the zoning board?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, guys.
And make sure you connect with Michelle on the,
Perfect. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, so. So, this time, we don't have any further items on the agenda for tonight. The applicant for Stone Ridge, we received a letter this afternoon on postponing until further notice.
Do we need to open and then adjourn to a date?
Yeah, we need to open it.
We
Yeah,
do.
we've got to reopen.
And then I don't know if you're prepared to tell us if you're able to make I believe the next date that
January
would be
9th.
realistic would be the January 19th meeting. Are you prepared to say you could meet that meeting and get everything in ahead of time? Because we could adjourn it to that date if she,
Because if we don't, you have to advertise the whole thing again.
But we need a deadline for them. If we're gonna be on
Yeah.
the meeting, we have to have establish a deadline for submission.
A lot of the things that are outstanding are not under my control, so I don't know. So we're waiting for the DOT to get back to us to see about the right-of-way issue. There's some other things that are, traffic things that are up in the air right now, so I'd like to say yes. I think that if I have all the information, I could, it's not much.
would be January
19th.
19th, because the next meeting is actually December 8th, which isn't that far off, and so I don't think they'll
Yeah,
make
so
that.
it's about 2
So,
months.
January 19th, we could technically adjourn it to January 19th.
And then just stay, depending on how it looks, Amy, if it looks like 19 doesn't work, just get back in touch with us. So,
Okay.
can I have a motion to open the public hearing for,
Second?
it's been moved and properly second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay, so this public hearing will be adjourned until January 19th. All in favor with adjourning the public hearing until January 19th?
Second?
Aye.
Been moved and properly second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
So we will see you next year.
Thank you.
2021.
Have a good holiday.
Can I have a motion to close the planning board meeting?
So moved.
Second?
Moved and properly second, all in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.